People have worshipped God on this site for over 1,000 years. And today, although the church has greatly changed over the centuries, it is still an active centre of Christian worship, the purpose for which it was built. Remember the priest and people who use and care for this church today, and who have the task of handing it on, intact and well used for future generations. Beyton village is on what was the old A45 road, about 5 miles from Bury St Edmunds. It has some attractive houses and a picturesque village green. The Church of All Saints stands sedately away from the village centre, on higher ground, along the road to Hesset. It is worth pausing to enjoy the setting of this pretty wayside church, in its trim and cared-for churchyard, its grey flint rubble walls presenting a variety of mellow colours and textures. Significantly, the 43.5 feet high tower commands extensive views towards the northeast, down the valley of the Beyton Brook to the Blackbourne stream in Thetford. For at the time the massive round tower was constructed, the threat to the Saxon farming folk at Beyton came from the river valleys extending away to Thetford and the Wash. In late Saxon times, the danger was acute. In the year 937, King Athelstan ordered his thanes to build bell towers on their estates. In those parts of Norfolk and Suffolk exposed to the fury of Norsemen, some of these strong defensive towers still stand. Almost indistinguishable from later Norman towers, they generally lack the characteristic arcading and exhibit a more careful setting of the individual flints in the thick rubble walls. Originally, the only means of access was the tiny opening halfway up the tower, approached by a ladder. Our tower access is still gained only by a ladder, but openings for the west window and the tower arch into the nave have been cut since more settled times have come to Beyton. The eccentric oval plan of the tower is a result of the customary casual way of laying out foundations in Saxon times. However, such towers are still known as round towers. The fears of the king and people were amply justified in this period, for beside the harrowing of innumerable settlements and villages at this time, the strong towns of Ipswich, Norwich, Thetford and Colchester were all plundered and burnt between 1000 and 1010. Athelstan's orders to build in stone are thus made clear. The little church of wattle and thatch might burn, and the cottages of the village, but the impatient marauders would not want to deal with the Festerberg, safe stronghold, as in Luther's famous hymn. If the little Saxon church was not destroyed in these troubled times, it was certainly replaced in Norman times by a stone church. Of this building, all we see today is the plain Norman doorway in the north aisle, but probably Norman masonry, and certainly all their rubble walls were reused in the medieval improvements which were made piecemeal over the centuries. Fears that the heavy tower might fall and bring down the church in ruins, as it did at Thurston, prompted the addition of the massive buttresses at northwest and southwest of the tower in the Middle Ages. The only other buttressed round tower is at Ramsholt, to the east of Woodbridge. Beyton is the proud possessor of one of Suffolk's 44 existing round towers, and although the tower has been so greatly altered over the years that dating it is difficult, there is evidence to suggest that its core may be Saxon, and probably over 1,000 years old. The later flint facing, and the two sturdy buttresses, also of later date, give the tower a slightly odd appearance, which is accentuated by the very short belfry stage, with its 3 single windows lined with white woolpit brick. On the south side is a blocked ringing chamber window. Inside, this window has a triangular head, which again is a Saxon feature. A stone near the northern window bears the date 1780, when this stage was rebuilt, probably replacing a taller and better proportioned belfry stage. We know that there was a stone church here in Norman times because its doorway survives in the north side. This building, like most ancient churches, has undergone many changes and improvements as new fashions in architecture and liturgy developed. We can see from its windows that the chancel was restored in the opening years of the 14th century. During the 15th century, the whole church received a facelift, when the perpendicular windows were inserted in the nave. The tower received its west window, buttresses and arch, and the porch was rebuilt.